The Empire strikes back when power refuses to fall. They thought they had won, but power never surrenders that easily. The hum of the city pulsed beneath Emily Carter as she stood on the rooftop of Sunset Diner. Neon signs flickered in the distance, their glow reflecting off the wet pavement below. The scent of fresh coffee and sizzling bacon drifted up from the kitchen, a comforting contrast to the unease settling in her chest. The world moved on as if nothing had changed, but she knew better. Victory had been a mirage. Emily Carter stood on the rooftop of Sunset Diner, watching the city skyline shimmer under the night sky. Just months ago, she had felt the thrill of victory. The council had fallen, independent restaurants were thriving, and for the first time in years, small business owners had a fighting chance. She had believed that justice had finally prevailed. But something felt off. The celebratory headlines had faded. The phone calls from allies had slowed. And now, whispers of a new force rising in the shadows were beginning to surface. Had she been naive to think the war was over? Had she underestimated just how deeply corporate power was embedded in the industry? She sighed, gripping the railing tighter. She had made one mistake. She thought the battle was over. She was wrong. Emily Carter had torn down the corrupt empire of the council, exposing their unethical grip on the food industry. Independent restaurants flourished, workers found their voices, and for the first time in years, small businesses had a fighting chance. But Emily made one mistake. She thought the battle was over. She was wrong. In the shadows, the world's most powerful corporations were already plotting their return, not as the broken remnants of the council, but as something stronger, smarter, and far more dangerous. Underscore. 1. The new threat, a more dangerous enemy rises. Emily had spent months celebrating what she thought was victory. But then, whispers began to spread. It started with a hushed conversation between two restaurant owners she had worked with. Did you hear about the sudden inspections? 3 places shut down this week. Something isn't right, one of them murmured. Then came the news reports. Independent eateries face unexpected regulatory hurdles scrolled across TV screens, and customers began asking questions. Then, Emily noticed the change herself. Reservations at small restaurants were mysteriously canceled. Suppliers, once reliable, now hesitated to fulfill orders. Something was happening, and it wasn't just bad luck. Small restaurant owners were suddenly struggling again. Suppliers mysteriously cut ties. It was eerily reminiscent of what happened in the retail industry when online giants like Amazon slowly squeezed out small bookstores and independent shops, offering lower prices and convenience while forcing traditional businesses to shut their doors. The same pattern had played out in the fast food sector, where self-service kiosks and app-based ordering systems reduced labor costs, leaving thousands of workers unemployed. Now, it was happening to the restaurant industry, but on an even larger scale. And then came the headlines, "The future of dining. AI-powered restaurants take over." It started with a few test locations, fully automated restaurants with no waitstaff, no chefs, just AI-powered kitchens and robotic service. At first, they were treated as a novelty, but within weeks, they became a serious competitor, undercutting traditional restaurants. Food was prepared faster, served cheaper, and marketed as the future of dining. The corporate machine painted human-run restaurants as inefficient relics of the past, convincing the public the human touch was outdated. A coalition of surviving megacorporations had joined forces to create an industry-defining shift, a fully automated restaurant empire. No chefs, no servers, no human workers at all. A system designed to be faster, cheaper, and impossible for small businesses to compete with. But it didn't stop there. Behind closed doors, lobbyists were pushing for new laws that would make it nearly impossible for independent restaurants to operate. Licensing fees skyrocketed, operational regulations became suffocating, and legal loopholes were closed off, except for those backed by corporate power. These laws were disguised as food safety improvements and efficiency standards, but their true goal was clear: to wipe out competition. Independent restaurant owners tried to fight back, but the pressure was overwhelming. Health inspectors suddenly appeared at struggling businesses, shutting them down over minor infractions. Banks refused loans to small restaurant owners while pouring millions into the AI-driven chains. It was the same pattern seen across industries, from self-checkout replacing cashiers in grocery stores to automated warehouses pushing out human labor. The corporations framed it as progress, but for small businesses and workers, it felt more like erasure. The question wasn't just about food anymore. It was about whether people still had a place in the industries they had built. Social media was flooded with advertisements promising flawless, error-free dining experiences, a direct attack on traditional restaurants that relied on human staff. This wasn't just a business strategy. This was extermination. Emily knew she had exposed corruption before, but could she fight against an enemy that was rewriting the rules of the entire industry? Emily had spent months celebrating what she thought was victory. But then whispers began to spread. Small restaurant owners were suddenly struggling again. Suppliers mysteriously cut ties. And then came the headlines: "The future of dining. AI-powered restaurants take over." A coalition of surviving megacorporations had joined forces to create an industry-defining shift: a fully automated restaurant empire. No chefs, no servers, no human workers at all. A system designed to be faster, cheaper, and impossible for small businesses to compete with. But it didn't stop there. Behind closed doors, lobbyists were pushing for new laws that would make it nearly impossible for independent restaurants to operate. Licensing fees skyrocketed, operational regulations became suffocating, and legal loopholes were closed off, except for those backed by corporate power. This wasn't just a business strategy. This was extermination. Emily knew she had exposed corruption before, but could she fight against an enemy that was rewriting the rules of the entire industry? Underscore. 2. The tempting offer: join or be destroyed. One evening, an invitation arrived. Emily was summoned to a meeting in a luxury skyscraper overlooking the city. Inside, she found herself face-to-face with a new adversary: the CEO of Global Foods, the largest food conglomerate in the world. A man who had remained hidden in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "I respect what you've built," he said, leaning back in his chair, hands folded in calculated confidence. "That's why I'm giving you an opportunity. You can fight us and lose everything, or you can stand beside us and shape the future." On the table before her lay a contract, a partnership, a chance to lead the AI restaurant revolution. She could have influence, resources, and the ability to fix the system from within. The office was sleek and sterile, designed to intimidate. Large floor-to-ceiling windows showcased a cityscape dominated by corporate power, a silent reminder of who truly ruled. A robotic assistant hovered nearby, silently pouring an expensive glass of wine for the CEO as he watched Emily, waiting. "This is the future," he continued smoothly. "No more labor disputes, no more human error, no more inefficiency. Think of what you could accomplish with unlimited resources. Think of the progress we could make together." But there was a catch. The movement she had built, the thousands who had stood with her against the council, would be betrayed. The human connection in dining, the livelihoods of millions, would be erased in favor of soulless efficiency. She glanced at the fine print. The clauses were clear. Over time, any real authority she had in decision-making would be stripped away. She would have no control over hiring, no say in restaurant policies, and no ability to protect workers from being replaced by automation. Her vision of ethical dining would be reduced to a marketing tool. Her name stamped on soulless AI-driven chains while corporate executives made every critical decision behind closed doors. If she signed, she wouldn't be leading the movement. she would be surrendering it. She would be a figurehead, a name attached to a vision she no longer controlled. Emily clenched her fists. She had spent years fighting to restore dignity and fairness to the food industry. She had turned down offers before, but this one was different. This wasn't just money. This was the promise of power, the illusion of control. But was this battle already lost? She could sign and secure her own success. Or she could refuse and declare war on the most powerful food empire in the world. Underscore. Underscore. 3. The crumbling alliance, betrayal, and doubt. As Emily wrestled with her choice, cracks began to form in the movement she had built. Some of her closest allies started to waver. Former supporters argued that AI restaurants weren't so bad. They reasoned that if small businesses adapted early, they could survive alongside automation. Restaurant owners once loyal to Emily began negotiating with Global Foods, hoping to save themselves from being crushed. Even some of her most trusted friends walked away. Maybe you're fighting a battle that's already lost, they told her. Some key investors pulled out, fearing that siding with Emily's movement would put them at financial risk. Without backing, her ability to fund independent businesses became weaker. Social media influencers and media outlets shifted their stance, with many beginning to support the corporate narrative. Sponsored content flooded the internet, painting AI-driven dining as the future of innovation. A deep fake scandal erupted, falsely showing Emily admitting that traditional restaurants were doomed. Though it was fake, the damage was done, and trust in her movement wavered. For the first time, Emily felt the weight of doubt press down on her. Was she truly making a difference, or was she just clinging to an outdated idea? She stood at a crossroads. Was it better to accept inevitable change and fight from within, or was there still a way to stop what was coming? She needed answers, and fast. Underscore. Four, a different kind of war, a new alliance. Emily knew she couldn't fight this battle alone. She needed new allies, ones who understood how to take on a corporate machine that controlled the government, the media, and the supply chain. She reached out to those who still believed in the value of human work, labor rights activists, ethical technology experts, and scientists working on sustainable restaurant models. If she couldn't stop AI-powered restaurants from rising, then she would have to reshape the system before it was too late. She proposed a revolutionary alternative. Instead of fighting AI, what if technology could be used to empower workers rather than replace them? She collaborated with engineers to design AI-driven systems that assisted chefs instead of eliminating them, ensuring small businesses could remain competitive. She exposed the truth behind Global Foods plans, launching a global campaign that forced people to ask, do we really want a future where food is just another automated transaction? She partnered with grassroots organizations to push for new policies that would protect human labor in the food industry, ensuring automation served as an enhancement rather than a replacement. She engaged with consumers directly, educating them on the value of ethical dining, personal service, and the importance of real human connection in the food industry. She organized large-scale protests, public debates, and media campaigns to bring the issue into the public eye, putting Global Foods under intense scrutiny. But Emily knew this wouldn't be enough. Global Foods wasn't just an opponent. It was an empire deeply embedded in politics, finance, and social influence. If she wanted to stand a chance, she had to expand her movement beyond just the restaurant industry. She reached out to union leaders, tech ethicists, and labor economists, people who understood that what was happening in the food industry was just the beginning. The push for full automation wouldn't stop at restaurants. It was coming for every sector of the workforce. If they didn't act now, millions of jobs in various industries would be at risk. This wasn't just about restaurants anymore. This was about the future of work itself. The battle was no longer just Emily's fight. It was a global movement. And for the first time, the corporations realized they weren't just fighting one woman. They were fighting an idea that had taken root in the hearts of people everywhere. The real war had only just begun. Underscore. Underscore. 5. The final stand, the beginning of a new era. Emily's fight led to a final, industry-defining showdown. As the courtroom buzzed with murmurs and flashing cameras, Emily stood tall, facing the most powerful executives in the food industry. The final ruling was moments away, but she knew the battle wasn't just legal. It was about public perception, about the workers who had put their trust in her. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. This is bigger than just me. This is bigger than just one restaurant or one business. This is about every worker who has been told they are replaceable. Every small business that has been crushed under the weight of corporate greed. And every customer who has forgotten that food is more than just fuel. It's a human experience. The room fell silent. Even the global foods attorneys exchanged nervous glances. Then came the twist no one expected. Just as the judge prepared to announce the verdict, a whistleblower from inside Global Foods hesitated at the back of the courtroom. Beads of sweat formed on their forehead as they clutched a thick folder of documents, their hands trembling. For a moment, it seemed like they might turn around and leave. But then, they took a deep breath, squared their shoulders, and stepped forward. With shaking hands, they placed the documents onto the judge's bench, their voice barely above a whisper. "Your Honor, you need to see this." Silence fell over the room as the judge flipped through the pages. Proof that Global Foods had been rigging AI-driven reviews, manipulating food safety reports, and bribing regulators to accelerate their takeover. The courtroom erupted. The judge slammed his gavel. The entire case was turned on its head. With trembling hands, they produced documents proving that Global Foods had been rigging AI-driven reviews, manipulating food safety reports, and bribing regulators to accelerate their takeover. The courtroom erupted. The judge slammed his gavel. The entire case was turned on its head. Emily knew they had won a major victory, but this was just the beginning. The corporations would regroup, adapt, and find new ways to fight back. But now, for the first time, the public saw the truth. This wasn't just about food. It was about the future of work itself. As protests erupted, lawsuits were filed, and public pressure mounted, Global Foods was forced to rethink its aggressive push for total automation. The fight was brutal, and not every battle was won. Some restaurants fell, some people lost faith, and some of her closest allies began questioning whether they had achieved true change or just a temporary delay. But Emily had done something no one thought possible. She had changed the conversation. The public no longer saw AI as an inevitable takeover, but as a tool that had to be controlled, not blindly accepted. She had sparked something deeper, something more than just a resistance. She had ignited a movement. New laws were proposed, this time drafted by her coalition of workers, ethical investors, and independent restaurant owners. The tide was shifting, but Emily knew better than anyone that corporate power never truly disappears. It only adapts. And so must she. She had started as a waitress, fighting against unfair wages. Then, she became a leader, taking on the corporate giants who sought to strip humanity out of dining. Now, she was shaping the future of an entire industry, rewriting the rules before they could be manipulated against the people again. But as she looked at the world ahead, she knew one thing. This fight wasn't over. The war for fairness wasn't just in food, it was everywhere. Automation was creeping into every industry, from retail to manufacturing, from medicine to journalism. AI was already replacing journalists, generating news articles faster than any human writer. Self-driving delivery trucks were threatening thousands of transportation jobs, and automated warehouses had already displaced entire workforces. The restaurant industry was just the next domino to fall, And if Emily lost this fight, millions more jobs would vanish overnight. If unchecked, the same battle would repeat itself in different forms. And she wasn't going to let that happen. A new fight was coming, one bigger than before. And this was just the beginning. Lessons from Emily Carter's fight. Emily's journey is more than just a story. It's a warning and a call to action for all of us. Her battle against corporate power and automation-driven greed teaches us valuable lessons about the future of work, ethics in business, and the fight for fairness. Her fight is not just about one industry. It's about a global shift that affects every working person. As AI, automation, and monopolistic corporations tighten their grip on the economy, we are witnessing the rapid elimination of jobs, the erosion of workers' rights, and a growing divide between those in power and those being left behind. Emily's story reminds us that we cannot sit back and assume fairness will be restored on its own. Every convenience we embrace has consequences. Every unchecked corporation, every unchallenged decision to replace workers with machines, and every time we choose price over principle, we are shaping the future of work. This is not just a battle for one woman, one company, or one sector. It is a fight for who we are as a society. Will we allow corporations to dictate the value of human labor? Or will we stand up, push back, and demand that progress includes fairness, dignity, and opportunity for all? Key lessons from the story. Technology must serve people, not replace them. Innovation should enhance human work, not eliminate it. Automation is meant to assist, not erase, the workers who built the industry. While AI and robotics can increase efficiency, they should be used to empower workers rather than displace them. History has shown that when technology is implemented recklessly, entire professions vanish, leaving countless workers struggling to find new careers. Instead of blindly accepting automation, we must push for policies that ensure technology is used ethically to support jobs, improve working conditions, and create new opportunities rather than destroy existing livelihoods. The key question is, how can we integrate technology without sacrificing human dignity? Power never gives up willingly. Just because corruption is exposed doesn't mean it disappears. The corporations in Emily's world adapted and came back stronger. The same happens in real life. Every victory leads to new challenges. History has proven that those in power will do whatever it takes to maintain control, whether through political influence, financial manipulation, or media spin. Corrupt systems don't fall overnight. They regroup, rebrand, and evolve to remain dominant. This means that every battle won is only the beginning of a larger war. The fight for fairness is ongoing, and those who challenge the status quo must always be ready for the next wave of resistance. The battle is bigger than one person. No movement succeeds alone. Emily had to rally workers, small business owners, and activists to fight for fairness. Real change requires unity. Throughout history, every great movement, civil rights, labor rights, and social justice, has been powered by collective action. When individuals stand together, they become an unstoppable force. But unity doesn't happen overnight. It requires trust, perseverance, and a willingness to fight for a common goal despite differences in background and ideology. The moment we realize that our strength lies in numbers, that's when real transformation begins. The battle isn't won by one person. It's won by all of us, refusing to back down, refusing to be silent, and choosing to stand up for what is right. Convenience comes at cost. AI-driven restaurants promised efficiency, but what did they take away? Jobs, human connection, quality, tradition. The same applies to industries beyond food. If we're not careful, we'll trade away people for profit. The appeal of convenience often blinds us to the long-term consequences. Once we accept a world where human interactions are replaced by screens, where craftsmanship is exchanged for mass production, and where decisions are made by algorithms rather than people, we risk creating a society that prioritizes profit margins over human well-being. The push for automation isn't just about replacing workers. It's about redefining what we value. If we don't take a stand now, we may wake up in a future where efficiency is prized above all else, at the cost of creativity, service, and the human experience itself. Change starts with a choice. Every worker, every customer, every business owner must ask themselves, will you accept the future that's handed to you, or will you fight for a better one? Change is never easy, and standing up against powerful forces requires resilience. But history has shown us that progress is made when ordinary people decide to act. Every revolution, every reform, and every major shift in society started with individuals who refused to accept injustice. Will you choose to be a passive observer, watching as decisions are made for you? Or will you be part of a movement that shapes the future with fairness, dignity, and opportunity? The choice is yours, but remember, every great change starts with someone daring to take the first step. This isn't just a fictional story. It reflects real battles happening right now in industries across the world. From retail to journalism, manufacturing to transportation, automation is reshaping the workforce at a pace no one can control. The question isn't if this change will happen, but how we will respond to it. Emily Carter's fight is about preserving dignity, fairness, and human value in the workplace. Will we stand up against unchecked corporate greed, or will we let technology be used as a weapon against workers? We all have a stake in this battle, and the time to act is now. Subscribe to Toch Story to hear more stories of resilience, power, and the fight for a better future. Because some battles are too important to ignore. Like, comment, and share this video if you believe that the future of work should be fair for everyone. What do you think? Would you fight for the future of human work? Drop a comment below, and let's start the conversation. Stay informed, stay empowered, stay in the fight.